From boat docks closing to people being asked not to water their lawns, the impact of Texas drought is all around us. Now, federal funding from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act could help the state brace for future droughts. The Texas Water Development Board is looking at how to spend $3 billion from the feds. Maggie Glynn tells us about the push to make sure the communities most in need get their fair share.
As kids return to campuses, Thrall ISD is cutting back how it waters its grass.
Each of our game fields and each of our lawns on the campuses, those are all irrigated through the well water.
Those wells are not pumping out nearly as much this summer, about 30% as much water as they usually do.
Where we've had to cut way back and then also at the same time shift over to city water, which has put our city on a strain.
It's not just these wells where you can see the impact of Central Texas's drought. You also see it at Jacobs Well and Lake Travis, which is only 52% full right now.
When there's disruptions to the system or when a system is aging, that's when we really start to value how much water plays into our everyday lives.
Nearly $3 billion in federal funding will trickle down over the next 5 years into grants for projects across the state, improving aging water infrastructure, and better equipping cities to handle drought conditions. For economically disadvantaged communities, those grants will foot the bill for 70% of the cost of those projects. The National Wildlife Federation wants more.
So we are really advocating for 100% grants for communities that are most disadvantaged, that are most in need of water infrastructure. This will really assure that communities that have not been able to historically access these funds will be able to receive SRF funding if they cannot repay any loan portion.
But the state says that comes with a trade-off.
The 70% is certainly a very high and attractive amount. One has to consider, though, the more you allocate to and higher the percentage, the fewer we can fund.
The board will continue accepting public comment on what to do through August 20th. Maggie Glynn for State of Texas.
After the public comment period ends, the board will review those recommendations before voting on a final version of the spending plan. That's expected to happen by the end of this year.
Concern over rising anti-LGBTQ sentiment in Texas pushes some families to think about leaving.
We're definitely not staying in Texas.
How policy changes are boosting a new business that wants to help people get out of Texas. Governor Abbott's move to bus migrants from the border raises tensions as more busloads arrive in New York City.
I am deeply contemplating taking a busload of New Yorkers to go to Texas.
We look at the conflict and why even more migrants could soon be crossing into Texas.